Yeah, so it's pretty new.
It's
Go ahead.
it's what 27 version.
Version 27, yeah. 2025
Uh,
release wave 2 is aka V27. V27 is out, and as expected, there are quite a good few features, especially for developers. That I guess that's the first thing that I look into whenever there's a new release, majorly, which is whatever the new
yes,
versions are, right? So let's kind
right.
of spend some time into it, try to understand what those features are, how we use them. So if you haven't seen how to create it, go ahead on YouTube, watch how you create a preview sandbox for your cloud environment. And in the similar way, you can also do it on a Docker container if you are into it. Now, let's first quickly talk about some of the very interesting features that I thought would be pretty interesting. Now, uh, so before we do that, I have a demo extension which I have pre-built because I was doing some testing. So let me just try to publish this, okay, and then we'll talk about it. Mm, you're pointing to the right one. Okay, so I'll talk about it, but let me give you insight around it. One is to build an extension for version 27, you need to make sure that you have this available. Oh, wait a minute, where is it? Somebody's joining, I guess. Sahib. Okay, Sahib is in. Yeah, just keep adding people as they are joining. No worries. Right.
Hi
Yes.
guys,
Hey man, how are you?
I'm good. What's up, you? Saurav, how's going?
Good man. It's busy now with the BC27 in the flow. Right.
MVP always.
No, not MVPs always, man. It's not an MVP thing. It's just a thing that I like to do whenever things come out. Okay.
Yeah, you are doing some extra like. So
So yeah, we were talking about it. We haven't started anything much at this moment, right? But what we are doing is I was here that you need to set up a sandbox environment if you haven't, right? Or if you are into Dockers, the preview versions are also available on Docker. So you can also set up a Docker environment for the version if needed.
okay, what's today?
Sorry.
What we discussed today?
It's about version 27, BC 27.
Okay, 27 update.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so let's see what we found out with that. Okay. So what I was saying is that if you are building something for version 27 and then you have to choose the runtime 16.0 because when you do a AL go for creating a new extension, make sure now you start choosing 16.0 so that any code related feature or any platform related feature that you are trying to use are part of it because they are tied into the runtime version. So it's a pretty important thing that you need to remember. So when you do ALGO, make sure the runtime is set to 16.0 or selected as 16.0, which will automatically set the application to 27.0. Now, you might not see that option when you do ALGO, and let me try opening a separate window and show it to you. So when you do ALGO, the first option that you have is identify the place, and then here are the version or the platform version that you select. 17.0 is for the next release, which will happen in March, but 16.0 is 2025 release too. But if you're not seeing these options, then what you need to do is come here on your extension management. Look for this extension called AL language extension for Business Central, and then make sure that it is set to pre-release version. So right now I'm on the pre-release version, so or the preview version, so I get access to the app supporting that version because the version 27 is not GA available as of today, generally available. So you need to make sure that you are on a pre-release version. That you can do by this button. You will have a different name. It will say switch to pre-release version. Once you do that, it'll make sure that you have a compatible AL language extension. So at the end of it, once you have done that, it should look something like this, which is switch to release version, which means that you want to switch to a version which is generally available. That keeps you safe of not by mistakenly choosing a version which is not GA. But if you want to test out something on preview, you need to make sure that you have this available. Okay. So I guess I have published it. Let me see if it got published or not. I did build a sample extension to kind of walk you some certain things around some of the features. Yes, it's here. Okay. Now let's talk about some pretty basic developer things that are very important. So one of the things that we surely have talked about in the past, and let me try to kind of demo it to you. So now when somebody tries to open a customer card or customer list, it should not be taking this much time, what it is taking today, right? And it's taking time because I have added some code which will make it slow. Now, there can be things where the system is slow on certain pages or certain areas, and that's where there was a pretty old feature that's available in Business Central within the client, which is called as Performance Profiler. That surely got update in the last to last release, and then there is another enhancement, which is a major enhancement in this particular release. So we need to remember that when you open any object in your client, it is not just single object coming from one app. It may have multiple extensions which are building this. So when we look into the page inspect, which is Control Alt F1, when you do it on a page, you surely uh, majority of the developers and consultant only rely on this, saying, oh, I can see the field information, which is great, and then you can search on it. But additionally, you can also see the extension that are building this page. Now, if you look at it, this page is built from system application, subscription billing extension have some customization on it, base application from where it is originally coming from. Then there is a Dynamics GP historical, and then at the last but not least is BC27 preview, which is my extension. Now, some people know this and they stop it here. But there's another factor that people should look at, which is how much time each of these extensions took to load when this page was opened. So if you look at it, it took 22 milliseconds. I cannot expand it, but I guess I'll see more detail onto it. Oh, so there is no extension info because it's just extending pages. On this base application from where this page originally comes from, it took 204 milliseconds to load it, and it had 3 subscribers. There's a Dynamics GP extension which takes 12 milliseconds, and then the culprit is here, which is BC27 preview, where there is surely some bad code because it is taking a lot of time to kind of load this. So far, so good.
Yeah. Saurav, it means that loading time or uploading time of our extension.
No, loading time of this page, and then how much each of these app contribute to that loading time. So let's say
It's effect on that milliseconds on this page when we open this page because of this extension.
Yeah, so when this page got loaded, let's say if it took 5 seconds and there are 5 extensions and each took 1 second to load, then it combines tells you that it will take 5 seconds, right? And then it's a breakup per extension, how much time was taken.
Okay, for here customer page, we didn't add field from your extension, but it's still its effect on this page. All right.
Yeah, because there is some code associated to it. So now if you look at it, it says the page is extended.
Sorry for disturbance.
No, that's okay.
Actually, for example, means if we have a page and it's taking time long, and on that page we have not add any field of from our extension, then still it affects our extension on this loading time. I'm right.
That depends where you have written the code, right? So let's say you have written a code on an action. Then it'll not contribute to the page load time because that time that you have added. And I muted you because I'm getting a echo. So when if you add an action onto a page using page extension, then that doesn't contribute to the page load time. But for this example, I have added code into on after get record, which surely will take time into it, right? Now, if you look into this, there is a page extending to this, most probably that they have added some actions into it, right? So if I hover over it, it tells me that there is an extend table and extend page, but the fields that has been added are not part of the page extension. They might have added some actions into it somewhere. So the load time is how much time it is taken to the code or the field that you have added to load this page. Make sense, Said?
Yes, sir. Guess I'm getting to your points. Actually, when we are on load or on record means before getting or something like that, then that effect. But if we are just extend page and add some action, that not effect on that page.
Yeah.
And here
And
we can see that your extension, it's BC27 preview. So why this is here affecting? That's your extension. Why
I'll
this
walk
is
you through. I'll walk
okay.
you through. So now let's take a detour to the history again, right? So historically in nav, we didn't had this info, and a customer would create a ticket with you if you are a partner and say, okay guys, have a look into it, and then you'll debug the whole process. So this is the first thing that you need to talk to your customer, saying, okay, understand where it is slowing down or which extension is slowing down, and surely send us that info. But this is not the only thing that they can do. They can actually go a little bit forward into it. Go back here, search for something called as performance profiler. Let me see if it is here. Yes. Okay. This is available. I can be completely wrong, but at least for 3, 4 versions is there. So they need to do this. They need to open it into a separate page by clicking on that action, which pops up that particular window into a separate space of itself. Once it gets loaded, they can then come in and let's say execute their operation here while they are recording what's happening, specifically around performance. So I'll hit start. So it started recording, and then I hit customers here. So as soon as I do that, it actually starts recording what's happening. And then people who have worked in NAV in the past will remember there was used to be a client monitor or something like that, which used to kind of show you every possible thing that's available. Now, as I'm saying, even if you have customers today on Business Central, this feature is still available, works on-prem or cloud everywhere. So that is not a problem. But this performance flow profiler is right now recording which extension is taking how much time, what it is doing. And then at the end of the day, it'll give you a good amount of summary around associated with it. So now it's loaded. So I'm going to stop it. As soon as I stop it, it tells me that the BC27 preview is the culprit, which is taking majority of time on this. Then I can go back here and say, show me technical information. And here it comes up with a nice breakup of all the apps that are taking time. Then you can also see the time spent application object wise. Now here, from a developer perspective, you know that there is a page extension, which I have created in my extension, which is taking 34 seconds to load this page. Now, if this is not sufficient, you can also go in here that the standard Microsoft is calling the customer list, and then there is an on after get record, which is being triggered from here in the page extension customer list, which is taking this much of time. It doesn't end here. You can ask your customers then to download this file, which is an AL something file, AL CPU profile file, which you can load into your environment even if you don't have the same extension that customer have. And you will be able to see the same information in your environment. What you need to do is on your environment, you can click upload, choose this file, and be happy with it. Option 1. But if you are a developer freak, which most of us should be, what you can do is you can also open this file from here on your VS Code. So just go in where that file is downloaded, select that file, and this will show you in a developer terminology the same file saying what happened. Okay. So here it says you this much time. And if you are sitting on the same extension where you are, you can actually click on it and it'll open that file if it is part of it, saying what it is. Right now, this is not the, I didn't added that into here, but you'll be able to open that file if needed. So now if you go back here into that file, what technically developer did, he added a sleep for 5 seconds after each record gets loaded. So you get a very good issue resolution phase where you say, okay, I know where the performance issue is. I even know the page where it is causing problem and from which extension it is causing from, and then analyze it from that perspective. So far, so good. Hopefully.
Yes.
Okay. Now, this is what was released at the beginning of whenever it was introduced in Business Central. I don't remember the exact version. What they did later on, that there are some problems that happen on a specific time of the day. That customer says my system is slow between, let's say, 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. or 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. So they did enhance this, saying you can have profilers. Not this one, I guess. Uh, you have this, I guess. Yeah. Here you can create a schedule of saying, okay, test this and status is active. It'll start at 8:20 p.m. my time and it'll end at, let's say, whatever time and date you want, 9:20 p.m. because somebody, my customer said that the problem is happening between 8 p.m. and 9:20 p.m. Just to give you a reference, right? And then if you want to filter it, saying who's the user, you can say, okay, this is a user who is reporting issues and what kind of activities he's doing. He's either doing activities in background, web service calls, or activity on the browser, which is the client. And then how frequently you would like it to record those transactions. So you say 100 millisecond, 150 millisecond, or 50 milliseconds. And then you can define the retention policy that this data gets deleted after a time. And then once it is done, from this between this time, system will start recording activities wherever they are doing things. Okay. So I have this started. I'll pop up the vendor page, which should have no problems. I'll open the vendor card. Okay. I get into bank accounts. Okay. Sounds good. Items. And I'm a normal user. I don't know there's something happening in the behind the scene. So I'm just doing whatever I do during this time. And then as a routine, I do check my customer balances. So I come here and I open up my customer card because I didn't knew that it's only happening on the customer card. So I'm just doing the activity that I do every day. As soon as I hit enter it, I know that there's a problem and I have already told it to my partner and they are kind of doing things right now, which will help me to kind of achieve all this. So they say, okay, let me do whatever I do. Let it take some time. My partner is surely working behind the scene to understand what's happening. So once it gets loaded, I'll tell them that I did run into the performance issue while doing certain things. You as a partner come next day and say, okay, let me see where the profile schedules are, and then let me see what happened. So if you look at it, I did click on different things, but based on the threshold that I've set while creating that new profile, it only recorded user navigated to customers on item list. I was sitting on the item list and then I clicked on the customer page. So it is recording everything that I'm doing. It says it took 35 seconds, which is an exception. It should not take that much time. And I can then click on it and it'll take me back on the same page, which we discussed earlier, showing what happened, right? So if a user says it's happening around a particular duration or a particular period of time, you can just directly go ahead and don't set it up for throughout the day. Remember this. Never, ask your user when it is happening, what is slowing down, because surely it'll slow down your system while this is happening because it is recording based on the frequency, sampling frequency that you have used. So that was till the last version. Now, what happened in the latest version when I was reading the release notes today is, let's change some code there. Okay. Let's try changing this code. Rather than doing this, let's write a function here. Give me an example, guys. Okay, where customer ledger entries. Okay, and then posted sales invoice. And I'm just taking some examples. Okay. It's not suggesting it correctly. Okay. Cost ledger entries. Okay. And not posted, but sales invoice header. Okay. I'm not adding a delay, but I'm saying, okay, customer lot entry dot set range. Customer number is equal to tech dot number. Don't write ever something like this, but just make sure that you're writing it in a way that it's, I don't prefer people to write code into the pages, just to be, this is just for the demo. Okay. But remember this, that you need to kind of keep this in mind. Okay. So I have this and I'm just doing a variable set here. Demo decibel. Okay. Let's keep adding demo into demo dot remaining amount. That's okay. Is the remaining amount is a flow field? Should be. I don't know. Let's see. Yeah, it's a flow field. So I'll have to do a calc field. Remaining amount. Okay. And let's do a similar thing around posted sales invoice. Posted sales invoice header. Dot set range. Okay. Okay, just add it into it. Amount including VAT should be a normal field. No, it's a flow field. Okay. So I'm just doing some calculation, random calculation on the page that I'm in. So now let me do a publish of this. This should come in here at any moment. All right. So now we know that this is kind of will a little bit slow down my page because I have added some code. The code will be executed whenever the record gets loaded, and based on how many records I have on my customer table, it'll take that much time to kind of load that in. I'm not even using that demo anywhere. I'm just randomly wrote some code because I was trying something and then I forgot to kind of remove that code. It happens once in a while, right? Now, typically what happens in a code situation like this, you surely would like to understand where things are happening, right? So now what I can do is I can go back to the performance profiler. Okay, put that out. Oh, sorry. Put that out into a separate tab just to keep it simple and bring both of these together nearby. Start this activity and start my customer. Now this got loaded pretty fast. Hopefully it records something. There's nothing happened at this moment because it was so fast. Maybe there's no customer ledger entry at this moment. Okay, vendors and then customers. Okay, nothing actually recorded. Okay, there's something recorded only from the base app. Let's come down here. It says customer page list. And then, oh, it actually had something from vendor, not from the customer. I might want to add some delay in here also. Let's do 100. So that this kind of sits in line of what we are trying to do. Because now, and this is not just for here, but in general, whenever you need a reference of what kind of code executed in SQL, that's where this helps you. Okay. So if you need to know how much time it took for this code and what kind of code I have written, you can also analyze this from this. Okay, let me try doing it again. So you start it here. You click on customer, which takes some time because now there is a delay. Hopefully that works. And okay, BC27 preview. Now time is spent. Call tree. It doesn't expand it from here. Okay, maybe I'll have to prepare another example of for you that what's happening here. But in summary, what will happen is when you kind of access this code, you'll also have SQL queries, that what kind of SQL queries are written to kind of achieve whatever you're doing, and then how much time each SQL query have taken to show you what actually, maybe you can enhance your code. So now you'll be able to see SQL queries associated with your code in Performance Profiler. Let me find out the technical documentations around it. Where is the development section? But do use it. I like how Microsoft is kind of enhancing this, as it's kind of helping the whole process of writing better codes. So now here is the article that you can refer to. If needed, I'll put a link in the chat later on. But here you can see that it can show you the SQL level code of what's being written to achieve whatever you're doing. So it can tell you that you wrote something, then you did a find first. So it says top one, then you calculate some flow field. So here is the select sum. And so it helps you to kind of write that better code by giving you that insight that what is actually happening. So now if you look at it here, even from the Dynamics GP historical data and extension that comes from Microsoft, it is also showing you the code associated with it, that uh, here there is a select of primary key and all. So it helps you to understand the SQL queries associated with your code so that you can surely then understand that, okay, this is taking 21 millisecond. Is there a better way that I can write this code? And if needed, I'll prepare an example for the next week. That I don't think that'll be a problem. Okay, any questions? Were you using Performance Profiler till now? I guess, was that a thing in your, toolbox to tell your customer that make sure that you use this? Okay.
So I heard
Okay.
first time about that, but
Okay.
2 weeks ago, our vendor is asking about to performance, and he is asking that it's a little bit slow. But my senior is also not knowing about that, so he asked that it's not, we can't do that. But today, when I see all of this, then I will do hopefully from Monday and practical. So thank you so much
No
for
problem.
clearing these things.
So yeah, let's move to the next topic. So in the last release, and if you guys don't know it, there's a Copilot area altogether where Microsoft uh, adds all the Copilot feature that they are adding, which are these, right? And then based on the customer requirement, you can enable or disable whatever they want to use or they don't want to use. Additionally, if you build a custom Copilot, which we have done in the previous BCOpenDiscussions, you are mandated to add that here, either into the production ready previews or general availability. So these are out of preview, these two features, but these are still in preview. So in the last release, if I'm not wrong, Microsoft added the summarize feature, which helps you to kind of summarize the transaction or the master record at the moment when you are on that page. Um, when you look it into your customers or vendor card, I guess it's here somewhere, not on vendor, maybe on customers. It's surely there. Let me see. Oh no, not on the list. Surely. It's on the card page where it helps you to kind of summarize that particular document, saying, okay, I surely don't have it, which is odd. I should have it. Let me see if it is here. Yeah, here it is. Summary preview. What happens is it automatically kind of takes the data that's needed to create a summary, and then generates a AI generated summary of this transaction. Now, I'm pretty sure it came from an idea where people were like, oh, I want to manage it. I don't want to disable it. As in, if I disable it from the page where I showed you earlier, it'll just remove from that tenant or from that environment. But let's say I don't want to see it on vendor card. I just want to see it on customer card because that makes sense for me as a business. But there was no possibility to kind of hide this. So now they have added that you can hide the Copilot summary from here one way. It'll just kind of be removed from this page. Or as a developer, you can go ahead and using a page extension, just hide this page if needed, right? So what I can do is let's quickly look at into it. So if I go into the vendor card page, vendor card, under the fact box, I guess it should be there. This vendor picture, there is history, there is links, note. Okay, I don't see that, which is odd. Vendor history, pay to fact box, vendor history, buy from fact box, age account receivable chart, vendor statistics, attached document, vendor picture. Okay. I guess it's called summary part or something like that. No, it doesn't show it to you. So now you don't see it because it's not part of the extension it's not part of the base app. So when you look at it, and let me zoom this record, you'll notice that there is a separate app for these kind of things, and they make all these things available on pages. So let's try to analyze which one it'll be. Okay, let me try doing that. Let me try clicking on it. Okay, it doesn't show it to me, which is odd. Maybe it's part of the system application, but let's try this. Okay, so I want to remove it from my vendor card. So what I can do is I can come here, create a page extension and say vendor card. And then on this vendor card, oh, sorry, vendor card. Okay, I can just go here onto my layout area. And then inside my layout area, I can just go ahead and say I would like to modify. There is a summary something, default summary part. Now, default summary part, I can now go ahead and set it to visible false. So if your customer don't want it on certain pages, now you have the flexibility to kind of hide that if needed uh, from that particular page, right? Now, there was a question asked a few weeks ago that I would like to add it on my custom page. It's not available, let's say, on some places. Let's pick a place. Or I haven't tried it on the standard pages, but that'll be a good exercise. So let's say if I want it on my sales order page, for example. When I look into it, it shows me details, but it doesn't show me the summary of it. Let's try adding it into this page and see is it even possible or not. Earlier, it was not possible. So let's try doing a page extension here also. So let me try doing a page extension on this page. Sales order, where is sales order? Okay. And let me try copying and pasting this, because I should be able to kind of just add it onto the page where I want. But then the problem is that where I add it, right? So let me try doing this in here under my area. Sorry. I'm not sure that I can add it, but let's try layout. Can I add before, let's say there should be a links. No. Is the fact box area separate? I don't think so. Oh, no, it's not here. So I cannot add it into a page which is not part of my extension. So I cannot just go ahead and say add after, and let's say, because I would like it on a fact box area somewhere here, but then that is, let's say, customer detail. Oh, let's pick the fact box area. Can I add it before this? Let's try that. Oh, yeah, it's available. Let me, okay, let me try this. Add first into my fact box. Yes, I can. Hopefully, I should be able to do this. Let's see. And then what about if I try to add a system part? Because now it's a system part. Uh, it's called summary. Okay. What it says? The identifier assigned to summaries is not valid. It's a default summary part. Okay, this is called default summary part. Okay, sorry, my bad. Default summary part. A member of summary part is already defined on sales order, but I don't see that. Okay. So let me modify and make it visible. Default summary part, and then I can just turn it to be visible true. Okay, so you can surely make it visible if it is not into the pages. And then if you are creating a new page, I'm very sure that you can just add it into your pages under the system part. So now it's a system part, which is available in your pages. And Microsoft have made it possible that you can just make sure that this gets added. Surprisingly, I don't see that part here. Is it maybe coming from an extension? I'll have to kind of explore that. But hopefully that allows people to kind of add that part even on your custom entities. So if you have a custom page where you would like to add this default summary part, you just have now rights to kind of add it into the pages. Wherever it's not needed, you can just remove it. So it's now just part of a normal fact box so that you can just add or remove or extend it if needed in different pages. So now if I go to my sales order, I should be able to see it somewhere. Okay. So now the summary part is loading. I'll just show me whatever this is. So just keep in mind, if you see this and your customer says, yeah.
If this is already available and just we can hide visible that means to make this true, then we can't why we can't add from personalize. If
You
from
can. I
UI,
didn't knew that it existed, but I'm pretty sure
okay.
if it is available, you will be able to, as you're saying, just do it from personalize, right? So let's try that. So if I get into the personalize area, I don't see it. Oh, no, it's incoming fact box. Links and notes. I don't see it here. Maybe it's not in the sales invoice. Let's try that. Let's see that. If I try to,
But it's inside the garbage, Saurav.
oh, so it's already there on the sales invoice. Okay. Let's try something else. Yes.
Sales spot or something else.
Sales code. Okay, let's give it a try. Sales code. I don't see it here, right? So let's do a personalize here. Yeah, so it's no, it's incoming document files, sales history, statistics, details, item detail approval. So I'm pretty sure it's not in this. Okay, let's verify that. So let me just do a sales code extension quickly here. And don't do this what I'm doing. Don't create two objects in one file. That's bad practice. Just for the demo. Okay, sales code. And let me try doing this. No, it's there. It's there because it is allowing me to set it to visible true. But that's a good question that why I cannot see that. Hmm. I can surely add fields with personalize. Okay, advanced category field already showed on the page. Okay, no, nothing here. Okay, now that's something that need to be researched that if it is available, why? And the other thing is, and let me try one more thing. So remember that there's a huge difference between when you do a personalize, because that only applies to you, right? But if I go into my settings, my profile right now is business manager evaluation. So if I go to profiles and then go to business manager evaluation and then do a customize pages. If you do it this way, then anyone who is using that particular profile where you're customizing it, it applies to everybody. So I highly encourage people as in customers, until unless some user have very specific requirement, they should be using this. The beauty of using this is that it is portable. So if your customer is doing it on Sandbox, you can easily be able to port it to production if needed. So we were in sales code. So let me open that. And you are into the design mode right now. So if I go into this, okay, let me see. Okay. No, I don't see it here also. So that's something to explore why I cannot see that, but I can unhide that from my. Oh, it's here because. Okay, sorry. It's sitting somewhere down here. Wait a minute. Let's summary preview. But this is enabled. Is it placed on the wrong area? Maybe. I don't know. Okay, I haven't added it there, just to be very clear. But let's test it out. Sales code. Maybe they need to kind of look at it. Why they, no? Oh, it's here on the sales code now. What?
What's happening?
Sorry? Something
So
is
what's
surely
it?
off.
Okay.
Okay, let's not spend much time. I'll just look into the last entity if it is there or not. And then we'll look in. Oh, there's already preview available here. Okay, if it is here, then it'll be everywhere, most probably. Let's look into the projects if I have that open on this environment. Yeah, hopefully it's not here. No, it's not here. Okay, is it? It's sitting here for some weird reasons. And then if I close this, and this might be a thing of preview because now it's here, right? So yeah, just for the topic, with this enhancement, what you can do is you can either show it on certain pages as a developer, or hide it from a page if customer doesn't need it. And also if you're creating a new, completely new page, which does not exist in Business Central, you're creating it for the customization that you're building. It was not possible to do it, add this feature into the custom entities. But now with this release, Microsoft extended it that you just kind of add this as a uh, uh, fact box into your page. So you can just add this section into your new page and it'll just be part of your card page whenever needed.
So
Yeah.
Actually, what's happening there? First time when we open that field at the that summary show at the end of that, but when we open in the second time, that show inside the fact box. What's happening there?
Oh, so preview have some bugs, and as we are working on it, people will report it, and it'll come into the right place where it's supposed to be. Previews are not GAs, they are for your testing, identifying where the issues are, and then reporting it if you see them, right? So if it seems a bug, which very clearly it seems a bug, the first time when you're opening a record, it's not placing it at the right place. uh, I think it's a good candidate to report it. I'll surely record it if needed on the Microsoft Yammer portal. Right. So it happens once in a while.
Means
Okay.
we today get a bug from
Found a bug.
Microsoft. Found a bug. Okay.
Okay, so what happens is while you're searching for things using the search icon, right, for reports and pages, but you can't find what you need, it kind of frustrating that you are not able to find it because it's kind of hidden somewhere or it's take a lot of time, and it surely slows down your thing. Now Microsoft is making some enhancement into it to begin with it because it's going to be available in future. People who don't know it, there are some optional feature which Microsoft pauses to be available in future, and those features are part of something called as feature management. Now there are the features which are uh, which will come into the future, but if your customer would like to try them out right now, they can do that. So people know about feature management, just do a thumbs up or something on the chat if you're not ready to speak. That's okay. If not, I'll go a little bit deep into what a feature management is.
I don't know.
Okay. So feature management is a concept where Microsoft says, okay, we will list down some features that will be force is not the right word, but will be available in the future version by default. But before we make that change, we want to kind of collect some insights or give you some options before you start implementing them. So what they did, they built this feature management, which is available in Business Center from the beginning. It tells you what the feature is about, right? You can surely read more about it in MSDN by clicking on these links. Then it tells you when it will automatically enable from. So this tells you that this will enable from 2026 wave 1 between this timeline, and so on and so forth. Each feature will have their own default future date where they are enabled. And then this is the version. If you are a developer, if you want to read from a version perspective, this tells you on which version it will be enabled by default. Now, as I was saying, that you have an option to opt in and say, okay, I would like to try this feature. Then in some areas, you'll see that it is already set to all users, which means that it is currently enabled in this particular environment. Where it says none, that means you or your customer has not opted in for this feature, and they will get this feature when this gets part of the GA. Okay. Now, what happens with this? There are two kind of features in feature management. One is that you can reverse back. So you say, oh, I tried this out and I didn't like it, so I'll roll back. Possible. There is another set of feature which you can't roll back. Okay, so like this, new sales pricing experience. If you enable it for an environment, you don't have an option to roll it back because there is a data update that happens when you enable this. So be very sure, test it out on your sandbox. If you're not sure about the feature, don't enable it until unless you are very sure about it, because it's not just about this feature, it's also about your customization associated with that feature and other ISVs which are relying on it. Okay. So in this release, Microsoft added this first feature into this list, which is advanced tell me in preview. So there's a new version of tell me that is coming up, which is advanced tell me, and this will be available for all customers by default on version 28. If you are something which would like to try things out and you're on your sandbox, you can surely come in and say all users, and this will just enable it on this particular environment. Anytime you enable a feature for this, you will have to sign out and sign back in to make this effect on your environment. I don't think this should be, but yeah, it seems there will be a requirement. So I'll close this tab and I'll get back into this environment again. So as soon as I sign in, that feature will kind of be available for all users as I have enabled it on feature management. Now, this is something that you can roll back. You can say, oh, I have tried it out. It doesn't fulfill the way I was thinking how it will be useful. So I'm rolling it back, and you have a possibility to go back in the feature management and flip that switch. Okay, now you see this advanced preview. So I can go in and say, okay, none, and it'll be rolled back. But let's say if I'm on new sales pricing experience and if I enable it, what you'll notice that after you enable this feature, you can't turn it off. So you can't go back to this feature because there is some data that will move with this enabling. So remember this, that if you see this window, think it through on which environment you are doing it. If you don't see this window, then go ahead and try it out and then revert it back if you don't need it. Make sense? What a feature management look like?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
So coming back to advanced tell me feature. So now with the tell me, there's an advanced section. And this feature uses AI to find pages and reports. Okay. Now this is a little bit different with in comparison to the tell me. It's under preview as you are talking about it, and as you guys saw, you'll have to go into the feature management to enable it. But this is AI enabled advanced tell me, which will help you to search things. So if I'm doing customer payments or vendor payments, whatever I do, the difference between this and the normal tell me is that it doesn't start finding it out unless you hit enter. With a little bit of change in how we have been using tell me for all these years. But unless you hit enter, okay, it'll not search it. So I'm hitting enter and now I'll go and start finding relative terms to what you're searching. It found out payment methods, it found out vendors, vendor subscription contracts, payment practice, all related to the word that you have used here. So let's see, customer payments. And it found out cash receipt journal, payment methods, and things like that. Now it's a little bit different because if I type the same thing here, as I type, it start finding for me. So I'll say, okay, I know the exact page name and it'll take me there, right? But when you do it into the advanced tab, let's say journal, it's not going to find it for you like it was used to do it and tell me. You'll have to hit enter and then it'll start finding relative things using the power of AI within Business Central saying, okay, I think this is what you mean. Now, if you have customers on-prem, remember this feature is only available on SaaS. Any AI feature that you see where it says AI is not something which is enabled for on-prem customers. So you'll have to rely on Business Central Cloud only if you are going to use advanced tell me features. Any questions associated with it? It was a pretty small thing, but that's where it is. No questions? Okay. Now I had a pretty big example built in, but let's talk about it next week. I guess we are at our time. So here is an example. Let me add records. So that should add it on the job queue. I guess I build a pretty detailed because I wanted to check the performance of it. It's ready. It's not running yet. Set it to run at the right time. Oh, it's taking 1 minute. So what I've done is I've created a code which adds a lot of records into it. And then when you click on that button, it just adds that many records into that table or that page. Right. So we'll have to wait for it. But in the meantime, I'll walk you through around that code. There's the coordinate that's being running on the job queue right now, which is adding what this is what 10,000 record. Yeah, 10,000 record on both the tables, right? And the tables are pretty simple. One of them is this, where there is an auto increment field true. And then the other table is where there is no auto increment field, but it has a picture or a media field. Now, the example we are going to see will help us to understand, sorry, how the new truncate statement works. Now, if you haven't read about it, Microsoft have added, let me run this maybe once. Okay. Why this says sample entry ID 3? Oh, because it was running. Maybe. Oh, my bad. I've written something wrong. Just before the sessions, I was preparing for it and I forgot to do true. My bad. Okay, anybody know why I did it true here and not here? And why that was an error?
I think it will change in the SQL.
But this will also change in the SQL, but I only added it here, not here. The functions are same more or less. There is table 2 and there's table 1. Let me just run the job queue. And then if needed, we'll just quickly talk about it.
If we mark it true, it will run the code written on the insert trigger of the table.
True, that makes sense. But there's no code on the trigger. Oh, I forgot one more thing. Guys, the question still lies. Same. Why I'm setting it to 0 and marking is insert true and not this one, where I'm setting it to an incremental number and then marking it as insert. Okay, it's running it. Okay. Okay. Just do a thumbs up somewhere or a like or whatever you have buttons on your screen. Do you know about auto increment? Yes. Okay. Prem only, I guess, seems to know about auto increment. So if you know about it, here is a table. This table has this property called auto increment true, whereas this table does not have that property. Now, what happens with the auto increment is a value of that field is automatically assigned and you can't manually define it. You cannot say the value of that field is 5 or 10 or 15. It automatically increments based on the last value that it has. But while you are trying to insert record into it, you have to make sure that you call the insert true. And then the other thing that you have to remember is that you make sure that you assign the value of that field to 0, which is auto increment. System will automatically start a counter and will increase it from 1 to whatever that value is. So if after this counter, if you add a new record into it, it'll automatically get 10,001. It'll not be 1 again. So that's how, if you want to look at it from the standard Microsoft perspective, look into the record link table. Record link table has a auto increment field, which automatically increments whenever you add record into that table. So what you'll notice that there is the 2 times when it error out, if you remember, it gave us an error of ID number 3 and ID number 6, I guess. And that's where it remembered that even if the records were not inserted into it, the IDs were consumed because it was auto increment and started from 7. So if I run that code again, it'll start from whatever the last number that's generated here, 1006. It'll start from 1007. So far, so good. In this one, which is a normal table, it did not had any idea about what failed and all. It just follows the logic which I have written here, saying whatever the value of I is, just assign it to the ID. So it just keeps starting from 1 and it would have gone to 10,000. But in this case, it remembered that, oh, it's an auto increment field. So I need to remember whatever the number last time used, even if it was an error, and I'll just increment that number by 1. So remember the last time it errored out, it was 6. So it started from 7. Okay, but this was not the idea of talking about this particular feature. The idea around this feature is that now Business Central have allows you to do, what is that? Truncate record. So now you can do a truncate. Now people who have worked on SQL in the past will understand the power of the truncate. Truncate means delete directly. It's equivalent to delete. But the difference between delete all and truncate is that delete, from a SQL perspective, it keeps the log of the transaction that you're deleting. So it takes so many things into consideration, where truncate means don't care about anything else, just delete the record from this table. I don't care what things are in this table. So now if I try to do a delete all from this table, it'll surely take some time, and then truncate will surely take some time. The thing that I wanted to test here, which we will do right now, is how much is the time difference for sure. But then there is one parameter only on the truncate statement, which is reset auto increment. And that's why I created the first table with the auto increment. So if you set this to true, it will reset the counter of saying whenever you add the next record, start it from 1. If you set it to false, then it'll keep the last number in the memory that was used, and will, whenever you try to insert a new record into it, it'll just follow it from there. So that's truncate for you, right? So both have the same number of records. Let's try truncating this table. Okay, as soon as I do that, it's gone. And it only took 17 milliseconds. And I'm writing it down on a piece of paper so that we remember it, because I'll have to add records again into it to prove to do a comparison. But let's understand what are the limitations are with the truncate. So now I'm again going to do a truncate, but this time it's on a separate page. When I do a truncate, I get an error message. It says truncate is not supported when the on before delete or on after delete event is subscribed. So it is respecting if your table is being subscribed by someone else, specifically on before delete or on after delete. So what I've done, if you notice here in this code unit, is I've added a empty subscriber. I'm not even writing any code, but I've just subscribed to this event. So that'll stop me from truncating a table, because this is not possible with the truncate statement. So even if your table, it's your table, but if some other ISP or some other PTE is taking a dependency on your extension and subscribing to the on delete event for doing whatever they are doing, it'll not allow it. Now you'll think why? Because they might have a code saying whenever the record from this table is deleted, subsequently delete record from my table. Like when you think about sales header. So when you delete record from sales header, it automatically deletes a record from sales line, which is written on the on delete trigger. So it'll stop you from deleting, because truncate does not care about other tables and all. And you will only, I guess, understand it from a SQL perspective. The truncate doesn't understand any relationship between sales header and sales line and sales comment line and so on and so forth. For it, it's just a table. When you say truncate, it deletes everything. So what Microsoft have built in? One, that you cannot truncate a table if on before delete or on after delete event of that table has been used. And it's, I guess, very clearly written here also when you go into this page. So when the on after on before event are subscribed for this table. Okay, let's try truncating it again. It says it is not supported when your table has a field of type media or media set. Now let's think about it. Why Microsoft will do that? Anyone? Any guesses? Before I tell you that. Why a media or a media set field will restrict you from truncating the table? Okay, who knows where these are stored, media and media sets? If I have a vendor where I have a picture associated with vendor, and if you guys don't know, the vendor picture is actually a media field. It's not a blob field, BLOB, right? So why a media field will cause an error in the truncate statement? Let's think about it. Let me show it to you first, what a media field look like. This is a media field. You might not see the difference, but then let me show you a BLOB field, which is, this is a BLOB field, blob field. A blob field will support it, but a media field will not allow you to truncate the record. And why that would be? All right. So it's a pretty old thing. It's a Navision thing. I didn't want to go into it. But whenever you, when Microsoft had these fields available in NAV, they were type of blob. Now, what was happening is they were taking a lot of space because the blobs support up to 2 GB of the file size. So they were taking a lot of space on the actual record and were slowing down the system. So what Microsoft did in NAV, they introduced the media data type, which actually stores that table record into this table, tenant media, which is not the same table where your media is. So when you look into this table, it actually has a reference pointer which points to the ID of that record where the table, where that image belongs to. So when you add a vendor image, there is a pointer associated with the vendor record saying go to the media table with this ID and get the information of that image that you're trying to access. Right? So on the vendor table, there is an ID only associated with the media file. And then system automatically looks into the tenant media table and say, oh, I'm looking for this file to show it on my vendor card. And then system generates that image, which is visible on that particular page that you're accessing. So now when you try to do a truncate, what will actually happen? Data, yes, right, Prem. So what actually happens is when you try to do a truncate and it has a media field, what will happen that the media field will not be able to delete itself and you'll have orphan record in your tenant media table where Microsoft have provisions to delete orphan medias. So I'm surprised that they are not able to kind of truncate it and then run the orphan batch behind the scene. But that's the restriction which is not allowing you to delete truncate a record if it has an associated media or a media tenant media table. Make sense, guys? So you cannot have events specifically subscribing to on before delete and on after delete. You cannot truncate a table if it has media or media set records. And now if you look at it, it only took 7 milliseconds to delete all the records from the same table, more or less. It had the same number of record, where the earlier one, if you remember, took 17 milliseconds. And this is just for 10,000 record. If you're actually planning to truncate a table, which is not so common, but if you're trying to truncate some tables, then and it's a pretty big table, then it surely gives you a better performance. The truncate gives you a better performance, but you need to remember some rules. Two of them, which we have tested. One, that it should not have a media or a media set field. Second, it should not have a event subscriber, which is tracking it to on before delete and on after delete. Another thing which seems very obvious, that will only work with the normal table. It will not work with the temporary table. You cannot do a truncate on system tables, and you cannot do any other table type other than normal. So right now, only normal tables, and it makes complete sense why you're not allowed. You can tomorrow go and delete or truncate users table, which should not be permitted. So any system tables, you can't truncate. Any temporary tables, I don't think you even need to truncate it because temporary tables don't hold data. But then there are CRM tables, CDS table, and other type of tables. You'll not be able to use truncate statement on any other table other than type normal. You cannot use truncate while running in a try function. Now, if you don't know about try function, let me know, we'll talk about it. But try functions are majorly to kind of catch errors and don't generate those errors in the user screen. So if you have those kind of situation, then you use try function, but you can't use it in a try function. Tables that have security filter applied. Now, this is a permission related thing. So when you go into your permissions, and you go a little bit complex into your permission set, then you can apply the security filters on your permission sets, right? So you can say, oh, I would like user to see or view the data from this table, but I'm applying a permission set filter into it, okay, which is rare. I don't see most of the people using it, but people who use it, it's very common for them that they kind of have business requirement around it. So I can say that, oh, on customer 21, I would like user to see fields, read fields which have this security filter applied. The security filter, let's say I use the word, uh, let's say customer number, and then I can apply a filter, okay, equal to 10,000 or 20,000. So when a table is used in security filters, then you cannot use that with a truncate statement. You will have to kind of remove those references also. If a table has a security filter applied, then you cannot delete it, truncate it. When the current filters contain flow field or use high number of marked object. So it seems that you can do truncate, which is rare. I didn't knew that this was there, but I'll have to test it out. It says when the current filter contain flow fields or use high number of marked object. Now this is something I'll have to read with it. Okay. We have tried these two. I'll have to test this out. What does it mean when the current filter contains flow field or use a high number of records? So I can use it with the flow filter. Oh, sorry, with the filters. I don't know. I'll have to check this out. That where is this filter concept is coming from, because this makes no sense. Ah, so I'll have to test this out. What the where you're doing a, but why you'll do is set range into it, because let me read that again. When the current filter contains flow fields or use a high number of marked record. I'll have to test it out. That can I partially
Flow
delete it?
fields,
Go ahead.
flow fields means it's related to another table. That's why maybe.
Yeah, that makes sense, but I'm a little bit confused about this part. When the current filter, because from a SQL perspective, truncate means delete everything. You cannot say that, oh,
Yes.
5 records and delete this. But does that means it's possible? I'll have to keep that in mind. I have to test that out.
Okay.
Delete
Yes.
all record in a because it says here delete all record in the table that fall within the specified criteria in an efficient manner. Keep in mind that truncate allows you less concurrency than delete all, as the entire table will be locked until transaction is committed. Okay. So it seems it's a little bit different from SQL truncate, because SQL truncate does not, I don't think it respects the filter. Maybe it does, but I'll have to test this. Truncate with a filter should only be used when majority of the tables is being deleted. Otherwise, delete all will be more. So yeah, it seems that you can do a set range or a set filter even with the truncate, but it says that if there is a filter, uh, then only use it if majority of the records are being deleted. If it's a minor set, let's say if you're on sales order and you just want to delete one sales order or 5 sales order out of 10,000, then don't use truncate. It'll give you bad performance. In that case, delete all will give you better performance. So it means I can actually do a set range or a set filter before I want to delete it. And it says it's a little bit confusing because here it says truncate with the filter should only be used when majority of the table record being deleted, which means if out of 1,000 I'm deleting 998 records. But here it says when the current filter contain flow field, scenario 1, or use a high number of marked record, then it fails. So if I select 998 records and then delete it out of 10,000, this statement versus this statement is a little bit confusing. Should I use a delete? Should I use a truncate? Because here it is
Saurav,
saying, yeah.
and next statement is Microsoft is talking about the flow feeds. Maybe that's asking about that. There are high number of marked records. That's marked record. Maybe it's talking about the flow feeds, means the record that's added to another feeds. And next statement below one.
Yeah, but here it is saying you or use a
Yes.
high number of marked record, then it fails. It's not supported if you are use a high number of marked records. Here it is saying if you have to delete majority of record, then use truncate. And here it is saying if you have a huge number of marked record,
Actually, according to my understanding, then below one is talking about the use high number of marked records, mean that in tables there is so many records that are related to another table, not just few tables. And above one, there's talking about all the records, but in below one, the records that are related to another table, like flow fields are like.
hmm, hmm. But let me prepare something for next week. I surely want to get some clarity around it because it makes sense to me to kind of test this out. It surely helps in the performance, but we need to be very clear what we're trying, right? So I'm going to give it a try. What happens with the last this statement versus this statement? Why this is a little bit confusing. But yeah, if you go through with the Business Central 27 release, and if you find something interesting that we should be talking about, just drop me a ping somewhere on the chat, and I'll make sure that we cover it in the next week's session. Anything else that anybody tried it out and seems interesting? Because this is majority of things that uh surprisingly part of the development area. Only these are the things that are part of the development area. Right. There's one more thing which we'll talk about next week. I haven't tested it out. I surely would like to spend some time into it. But this is majority of the stuff from the developer section.
Do we need the subscription for Copilot or it's will come?
Interestingly, and I can be complete. I can be. I'm always most of the time wrong. Okay. So what happens is at this point, the only Copilot features which I know are being need a paid subscription is the agents. Okay. So if you are using the payable agent, if you are using the sales order agent, if you are using, that's it. Yeah. As of my understanding, as of today, if you are only using these two features, then you have to kind of go into, yeah, here it is very clearly. Okay, Microsoft Build. So you'll have to uh,
Oh,
buy a pack of service request or packets or something like that, something Microsoft calls them, which is majorly how many times you are using Microsoft AI model to get response from. So if you are in these two, then you are kind of being paid. Other features, as you can see, are not built, so you can just start using them. The only thing that you might would like to check on the same page here, that you need to make sure if it is not activated, you might have an option here to enable that feature. Just a administrative thing, but here it says now very clearly that by activating AI features, you must understand your organization may be built for it use in future, not today. So if you're using
yeah.
chat, analyze, summarize, autofill, number series, or any of these at this moment, they are not built as of today. So go ahead and
Yes.
use it if you're interested, right? But these two are surely billable.
Can we
Okay.
develop the agent?
Yes, you can, but then there are two, three things associated with it. What kind of agents you would like to build in? Surely check with the Microsoft development team. Is that in plan, right? For the sales and the purchase agent, they have capabilities for you to customize it, right? You can surely build your own custom agents, that's possible. Or you can also bake in custom Copilot functionality, as I was talking about a little bit earlier. And if people have not seen it, you can go back into the historical recordings of BC Open Discussion. When it was recently announced, we did build some Copilot features for Business Central, which starts from building a copy of your AI model inside as your tenant, and then talking to it whenever the customer requests for things. So it's all possible. I don't think that that's a problem.
Yeah. So from the VS Code, can we access that this agent is there or not? How we can access? Like that's customer table, I can go there and I can check this is written there, some code is written there.
Also, no,
Like
these are
in
separate.
this
These are
moment.
separate apps altogether. These are
Okay.
not part of the standard Microsoft pages. What Microsoft is doing for all these apps, sorry, for the all these features, there are separate apps built in. When you go into extension management, you'll surely see a payable agent. So these are different extensions.
Oh,
Um, so let me see. Yeah, so here is a payable agent, right? In the same way, there is sales order agent. So they have different apps for different AI features. I don't think anything is directly built in on base app. They're not doing it directly on the base app, which is a good thing, which makes
yeah.
makes it easier for you to kind of disable them and not use them. If like product information for Copilot, this is a separate app. Sustainability emission with Copilot is a separate app. So it's all separate apps altogether. They are not part of your base app or a system app. You just can look into these code if needed, rather than looking into everything that's available.
Yeah. All right.
Okay,
Thank you.
anything else, anyone? So in that case, what we'll do is we'll join next week. We'll try to cover what else is left or available, and then we'll see that. If you, as I was saying, if you find something interesting, just let me know into the comments, and we'll surely talk about it sometime
Saurav,
next week. Yeah.
hello. I have a question. It's you in personal. So when you are available, please text me. I have some few info.
Sure, I'll have my dinner and I'll ping you, Sahib. Not
Okay.
problem.
After dinner, please be.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. So thank you guys. I'll see you next week. If you find something interesting, let me know. I would love to kind of spend some time into things that I haven't explored yet. So just ping me somewhere and we'll surely get connected on that next week.
Okay, thank
Okay
you so
then.
much.
Yeah, thanks guys. Bye.
Okay. Thank you so much, sir. Bye.
Bye.